If Captain Toad tracks treasure, Luigi goes after ghosts, and Wario makes money off his microgames, what would Princess Peach do in a spin-off of her own? Princess Peach Showtime's answer is that she can do pretty much anything. One moment she's a superhero, saving the world from an alien invasion as the epic Mighty Peach. The next, she's in Disney on Ice, with figure skater Peach's elegant routines and synchronized skating.
Perfect 10.
This constant variety and delightfully original stage play aesthetic help lift Showtime up, even when its otherwise simple gameplay and inconsistent performance could have used a few more rehearsals before opening night. Peach's first solo outing in nearly 2 decades may not earn a standing ovation, but I still had a nice time at the show. Showtime takes place entirely within the Sparkle Theater, a can't-miss destination for thespians and theatergoers in the Mushroom Kingdom. Apart from the pair of toads that accompany the princess on her quickly disrupted vacation, Showtime forgoes everything else familiar about the world of Mario, instead introducing new antagonist Grape and her wicked Sour Bunch. While the Sour Bunch and the Theat, the friendly inhabitants of the Sparkle Theater, feel a little bit generic, it's refreshing to see a Peach-focused adventure entirely removed from the main series trappings of Bowser kidnappings, flagpoles, and super mushrooms. Nintendo has given Peach ownership of something wholly original in the same way that Luigi's Mansion 3 gave Mario's brother his own identity, and I sincerely hope this is just the start of an ongoing series for our princess. Showtime excels in its admirable commitment to that stage play look and feel. Every level really leans into the idea that this whole adventure is taking place inside a theater, and the results are incredibly charming and memorable. A spotlight is always shining on Peach, which looks especially cool during levels like this that take place at night. All of the backgrounds look like hand-built wooden sets you'd see in a high school play, some enemies are held up by puppet strings, and sometimes the whole stage rotates 180 degrees to give the illusion of entering a brand new room without the camera angle changing. These delightful touches make Showtime a joy to play through even when the things you're actually doing on that stage aren't always as compelling. Nintendo is clearly targeting a younger audience here. Peach can take a whopping 5 hits, or 8 if you equip the optional heart charm that's available from the very start, before getting a game over screen. Puzzles, platforming, and combat are generally very simple, and the basic control scheme primarily relies on just 2 buttons. I failed only 1 time throughout the entire adventure to a mildly challenging late game boss, but nail-biting difficulty is far from the point here. Instead, it feels like Showtime is designed to let you try out a ton of different video game genres in one straightforward, kid-friendly package, and it mostly succeeds at that. Across Showtime's roughly 8-hour campaign, you'll find multiple stages for each of Peach's 10 transformations. Nintendo is really good at picking the right character to pair with a new concept, and this character is an awesome choice to play these different roles. Her costume design is great for each and every one, from the Zorro-esque dashing thief to the classic investigator look of Detective Peach, and it's fun to see her do brand new things we haven't seen in a Mario game before. Your favorite transformation is probably going to depend on your preferred game genres, and that's a credit to how well Showtime streamlines recognizable ideas for beginners. I'm a massive Ace Attorney fan, so naturally I loved solving mysteries as Detective Peach, where I got to examine crime scenes for evidence and call out witnesses on their lies. Ninja Peach puts a fun spin on a stealth game. She holds up wooden disguises to blend into tall grass and breathes underwater using an adorable bamboo chute while she tiptoes around and sneak attacks her enemies. I also had a great time baking desserts as Patisserie Peach, where it's a race against the clock to decorate cakes as accurately and efficiently as possible to get a high score. Other highlights include grapple hooking around a Mission Impossible-like heist as Dashing Thief Peach, and playing out a classic Wild West chase as Cowgirl Peach. None of it's very challenging, but the simple nature of it all makes it easy to constantly swap gameplay styles without having to remind yourself of complex control schemes or combos. For those who want to master a specific transformation, rehearsal challenge levels ask you to defeat a certain number of enemies in a limited amount of time without taking a hit, offering a nice bit of added optional difficulty if you're looking for it. Not all transformations are created equal though. I did not enjoy the Mermaid Peach sections, which culminate in a rhythm game that just doesn't control very well. The 5 combat-focused transformations can sometimes blend together too, especially with the pushover enemies, so I was a much bigger fan of the less button-mashy sections that instead centered on cake decorating, figure skating, or investigating. Great boss design is one of Showtime's strong suits. The first Sword Fighter Peach level wraps up with a fight against a giant plant right out of Little Shop of Horrors, and Kung Fu Peach's levels end in one-on-one brawls that are pretty much just QuickTime events, but they're certainly fun to look at. I love the levels where a new transformation is first introduced. Peach arrives at the scene of a new play, either in her iconic pink dress or one of the many cute variations you can buy at the theater gift shop, and is quickly familiarized with the setting, characters, and conflict of this new story before becoming its hero. These moments successfully capture the feeling of a prologue, and it's another way Showtime smartly plays into its theatrical setting. Much like a real play, each transformation's second act is generally shorter and quicker to the point. None of them overstay their welcome, and if anything, I wish there was an additional stage for each costume to extend the runtime a bit further. Like most Nintendo platformers, the main way to squeeze more out of this adventure is to go for 100% completion, and Showtime sadly stumbles in this department. To its credit, it's packed with shiny things to find, as each level has a handful of sparkle gems and cosmetics to track down. On my initial playthrough, I missed one thing or another in at least half the levels, so there's a lot I could go back to look for. Unfortunately, I honestly don't want to, and that's disappointing to me as someone who typically loves to fully complete Nintendo games. It's because the levels in Showtime are fairly long, often reaching the 10-minute mark, with unskippable dialogue and cutscenes that interrupt the action. These flourishes are enjoyable the first time I watched each performance play out, but it's not a great way to encourage repeat visits. I'm not interested in playing through an entire 10-minute segment again just to reach the 30-second portion where I missed a single collectible. Showtime could have hugely benefited from a chapter select for its longer stages, because as it stands, I don't see myself completing everything this time. And while it doesn't really strike me as a game that shoots for the stars graphically, Showtime sadly serves as a stark reminder of why so many people are ready to move on from the beloved but aging Nintendo Switch. The graphics simply don't always look that great, especially compared to other gorgeous Switch games starring Mario and friends like Super Mario Bros. Wonder and Luigi's Mansion 3. Peach herself often looks blurry, and the inconsistent frame rate really pulled me out of the action at times. Frame rate stutters are most prevalent during cutscenes or moments with lots of action, and the performance fails some of Showtime's most exciting bits. I never found these issues to be detrimental to the gameplay itself, but it's jarring how choppy the results screen can be at the end of a level, and even the loading screens chug incredibly hard when you're transitioning from the lobby to the stage. Plus, the sound when Peach jumps is also weirdly crunchy and compressed sounding, almost to the point where I wonder if it's going to be updated after launch. None of this is a deal breaker for me, although I've never been a big stickler for performance, but it's definitely a disappointing distraction. Princess Peach Showtime is more closely aligned with Kirby and Yoshi's simple, cheery romps rather than Mario's polished platformers and Luigi's haunted mansions. There's fun to be found in the Sparkle Theater, as these delightfully simplified takes on some of gaming's most popular genres are entertaining to blast through, and the whimsical stage play aesthetic gives Peach's game an identity all its own. I'm also thrilled that Nintendo is finally giving Peach another crack at her own solo outing after nearly 2 decades, and I hope this is the start of an ongoing spin-off series within the wider Mario universe. Some noticeable performance issues and the frustrating lack of a chapter select means I won't be returning for an encore, and I wish there were a few extra levels to lengthen the somewhat brief campaign, but Nintendo and Princess Peach at least know how to put on a good show. For more, check out our reviews of Mario vs. Donkey Kong and Splatoon 3 Side Order. And for everything else, stick with IGN.